Hey everyone, it is either really, really late on Christmas Eve night or really, really early Christmas morning, depending on how you want to look at it. I'm still up wrapping gifts, and I have a tradition that I don't put anything under the tree or wrap any of my kids' gifts until Christmas Eve when they go to bed. I really like the magical feel that there was nothing under the tree when they went to bed, and when they wake up, it's full of gifts. So that's how I do it. Makes a really long night for me. I probably won't go to sleep tonight, but I needed a little break from wrapping presents. So I want to just share one of the things that we do at my house for Christmas is we started a few years back. Um, we've always read a couple of books at Christmas time. We had The Grinch, which is my favorite, and The Night Before Christmas. And then through the years, we've added more and more books to our collection, and we now have the 25 books of Christmas. We start December 1st, and we read a book all the way through Christmas Day. And we actually now have more than 25, so we have to kind of pick some that we don't read um, every year. But one of the ones that we read every year, and my kids request, and they're older now, and they still request this book, is The Crippled Lamb by Max Lucado. So I wanted to share it with you. It's a really sweet story with a really great message. So I'm going to read The Crippled Lamb today. Once upon a time, there lived a little lamb named Joshua. He was white with black spots, black feet, and sad eyes. Josh felt sad when he saw the other lambs running and jumping because he couldn't. Josh had been born with one leg that didn't work right. He always limped when he walked. And for those that don't know me in person, I am also a teacher. I teach pre-K, so I've lots of practice reading these stories and showing the pictures, so you'll get to see all of those too. When he watched the other lambs run and play, Josh felt sad and alone, except when Abigail was around. Abigail was Josh's best friend. She was an old cow, and her voice was always kind and friendly. Some of Josh's favorite hours were spent with Abigail. She would spend hours with Josh, telling him stories. When Josh got sad because he could not run and jump and play in the grass, Abigail would say, "Don't be sad, little Joshua. God has a special place for those who feel left out." Josh wanted to believe her, but it was hard. Some days he just felt alone. Then one day the shepherds decided to take the lambs to the next valley where there was more grass. All the sheep were excited. Josh hobbled over and took his place on the edge of the group, but the others started laughing at him. "Go back, slowpoke. We'll never get there if we have to wait for you. Go back, Joshua." Then he heard the shepherd's voice. "They are right, little Joshua. You better go back. This trip is too long for you. Go and spend the night in the stable." Josh turned slowly and began limping away. Never before had Joshua felt so left out. A big tear slipped out of his eye, rolled down his nose, and fell on a rock. "Don't be sad, little Joshua," said Abigail. "God has a special place for those who feel left out." The two friends walked to the stable together. After eating some hay, Joshua lay down on some straw and closed his eyes. Abigail came and rested beside him. Josh was glad to have Abigail as a friend. Soon Josh was asleep. He dreamed of running and jumping just like the other sheep. He dreamed of being in a place where he never felt left out. Suddenly, strange noises woke him up. "Abigail," he whispered, "wake up. I'm scared. Somebody is in here." They looked across the dimly lighted stable. Josh and Abigail were surprised to see a baby lying on some fresh hay in the feed box. The baby's mother was resting on a big pile of hay beside the feed box. Josh limped across the stable. He stopped next to the mother and looked into the baby's face. The baby was crying. He was cold. The woman picked up the baby and put him on the hay next to her. Josh looked around for something to keep the baby warm. Then Josh remembered his own soft, warm wool. Timidly, he walked over and curled up close to the baby. "Thank you, little lamb," the baby's mother said softly. Soon the little child stopped crying. About that time, a man entered the stable carrying some rags to cover the baby. "Look, Joseph, this little lamb has kept the new king warm." A king? Joshua wondered who this baby might be. "The baby's name is Jesus. He is God's son. He came from heaven to teach us about God," the mother said. Just then there was another noise at the door. It was the shepherds, the ones who had left Joshua behind. "We saw a bright star and heard angels," they began. Then they saw Joshua next to the baby. "Joshua, do you know who this baby is?" The young mother smiled. "God has heard your prayer, little lamb. This baby is the answer." Somehow Joshua knew this was a special child and this was a special moment. He also understood why he had been born with a crippled leg. Had he been like the other sheep, he would have been away in the valley. But since he was different, he was in the stable, among the first to welcome Jesus into the world. Joshua turned and walked back to Abigail and took his place beside his friend. "You were right," he told her. "God does have a special place for me." And that's the end. So, if you've ever felt left out or like you didn't fit in, just know, just like Joshua, God has a special place for you too. Have a good night, and we'll see you soon.